So today we're going to get into absolute value equations, but before we do, couple quick discussion points on absolute value itself because it leads us into what we have to do to solve the equations. So here on the warm-up, if the absolute value of x is 7, what numbers could I plug in for x that would come out positive 7 with absolute value? Nice. Positive 7 would work, but so would negative 7 because absolute value is a distance. Both of those numbers are 7 away, 0. So I get two answers most of the time with absolute value. Unless, if x is, the absolute value of x, misspoke there, is negative 4, what are the possible values of x going to be? We threw a twist in. Absolute value can be positive or 0, but never negative. So there are none. Absolute value is always positive, or at the very least 0. Now, you may be wondering, you're like, well, wait a minute, if it's always positive, well, what's this? This wasn't my solution. This was the number I can plug into the absolute value. So like here, if I plugged in 4, I get positive 4. I won't get negative 4. If I plug in negative 4, I'm still going to get positive 4. It just doesn't work. So just a couple of things to keep in mind. So, absolute value equations. We'll kind of discuss them as we run into them down here. Isolate, which means get it by itself. Okay, if it's by itself already, which this first one we're going to do is, we don't have to do step 1. Create two cases. Set the inside equal to both positive and negative of your solution. So when we're doing this, we're going to have two equations that we create. So the first one will just be, basically you're copying what you see without the bars. X minus 9 equals 5. Then our other one is x minus 9 equals negative 5. Now here's the thing with that. Let me move this up a little bit here. We don't change what's inside the absolute value. Okay, so we don't make it like x plus 9 or something. That wouldn't work. But once we do that, now we just solve the two little mini equations and we're done. So, if I add my 9 by getting my x by itself, okay, get my first answer. I'm going to do the exact same step on the other one. Now I'm going to get a different answer. Negative 5 plus 9 is positive 4. But here's the thing. Most of the time, a majority of the time, you're fine. You can just circle these and say you're done. But check for extraneous solutions. Okay, what does that mean? Those are answers that do not work in the original equation. And we're going to add one extra little note here. Watch. Oh, am I going to squeeze it in here with my big old writing? Okay. Extraneous just kind of is a weird way, a mathematician's way of saying a wrong answer. You did all the math right. You didn't do anything wrong. But when you plug it in, it just doesn't work. Most of the ones that are going to be extraneous are going to be if you get a negative answer. Not every time, but most of the time. So in our case here, if I take the 14 and I plug it in, 14 minus 9 is 5. The absolute value of 5 is 5. Okay, that's cool. If I plug in 4, 4 minus 9 is negative 5, but the absolute value makes the negativity go away, and it comes out positive 5. So both of these check out, and both of them work. So sometimes you'll have both answers are going to work. Sometimes only one answer is going to work. So let's see here. Let's play. I'm going to move around a little bit here because I want to make sure we're touching on everything. So let's try out below here, number 5. Now this time, we do get to do the first step because this isn't isolated yet. There's a plus 17 over here with it. So we're going to get that out of the way first. And once that absolute value is by itself, it's isolated. Now I'm ready to split it into 2. So first one, we just keep the way it is. We just drop the absolute value bars. Second one, again, you just change the sign of the answer. You change it to negative. And then we try those 2 out. Now, this last one, we are going to check both of these again. But after this, I'm going to kind of leave it up to you how you want to tackle this. Because like I said, there's going to be a little bit of a pattern we're going to start seeing on the ones that don't quite work versus the ones that do. So I look and I go, okay, I go back to the original problem. See if I plug in my 7. 7 minus 1 is 6. The absolute value of 6 is still 6. Plus 17, 23. Okay, that one worked. Let's try the other one. Negative 5 minus 1 is negative 6. The absolute value, though, of negative 6 is positive 6. Plus 17 is 23. They both worked, even though one's positive and one's negative. Now, I'll have people say, well, if it's so rare, why do I even check? Decent point. If this were a quiz, you might see one question or 2 here that'll have an odd answer, and if you show me all the rest of the work, I'm going to be happy with you. So, something to consider. It's true. Okay. Which ones do we want to play with? Actually, I want to play with both of these. Okay. First question on number 6. What's my first step going to be to get my m plus 8 by itself? Divide by 3. Okay, so once we've got that, again, it's isolated. We're good to go. We're going to break it in 2. Oops. Hardy. Almost forgot my negative. I'd have gotten the same answer for both. That'd have been weird. So again, I just take a moment. Get my answer ready. Take a moment. Let's see. I owe my friend $13 and I borrow 8 more. This is not absolute value. I still owe my friend 21. That'd be cool. If borrowing money was like absolute value and all of a sudden what you borrowed became like what somebody else owed you, that'd be nice. So again, I kind of look and I go, all right, let's see here. 3. So we got 5 plus 8. 5 plus 8 is 13. So 3 times 13 is 39. Okay, we're good there. Even better if I'm on the screen. Negative 13 plus 8 is negative 5. Oh my gosh, Hardy. Really? How about the answer you put in there? Let's try this again. There we go. But we know that becomes positive. It's absolute value. So 3 times 13, 39. Everything's working. So far, everything's working. Oh, now Hardy, why are we going to do 16? It looks just like this one did. Oh, watch. I will show you why we do this. Okay. If you want to be the super sleuth, I do the least work and get the right answers person, here's where we watch. Every problem we have done so far, up until now, when we started it, positive number on the right, positive number on the right, positive number on the right, ruh-roh. If you start with a negative on the right, you can't do that. That's the same situation we have here. So if you notice at the start of your problem, not after you split them, if your original answer is negative, once you're isolated, just make sure you isolate first. Don't do any work because your problems aren't going to work anyway. You'll get two answers and neither of them will work. So we'll save you some time and effort. But again, that's only if your original answer is negative. Okay, last example for today. Get into some practice time, maybe clean up some stuff here from the first couple of days. Okay, question number 1. There's my absolute value. I'm dividing it by negative 2, excuse me. How do I fix it? What's the opposite of dividing by negative 2? Multiply. Now, some of you might be possibly thinking right now, wait a minute, Hardy. You said if your original answer is negative, it's no solution. Why are we doing a step? Because, in this case, when I fix this side to get my absolute value alone, check this out. What's negative times negative? Positive. I can do this one. So if your original is negative after you isolate it, once it's all by itself, your absolute value, then you're good. You can actually go ahead and do this. So this one, we're going to split it up and go because we're going to get answers. Now, whether they work or not, that's yet to be seen. But, all right, so let's see. So I get these rolling. And again, at a certain point, I'm going to let you determine if you want to go and check them all or not. You're like, we're not finding any of these things. 22 minus 10 is 12. Divided by negative 2 is negative 6. We're good. Negative 2 minus 10 is negative 12, but it's absolute value, so that's positive 12. Divided by negative 2, negative 6. It works. It works. So a lot of ones that are working, and that's not a bad thing. So like I said, we're splitting this into 2 days. So today, we're just getting some basics down, a chance to deal with some of those crazy problems from yesterday. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to move our attention over here in the practice packet. So for today, we're doing page 5 only. If you want to start dealing with the challenge problems, if you whip through these 8 and you're like, Hardy, this is easy. I need a little more of a challenge. You can start on to 6. That's what we're going to do tomorrow. But I'll also say, take advantage of time you get, especially in here, to be able to get work and stuff done. Because some days you may not have a lot of time. Some days like today you might have a lot. So if there's anything those first 4 pages you haven't done yet, today's a good day.